Today on All Out Brick, we're going to be taking a look at Maxilos and Spinax. We're going to build the set, review it, and then give out a score. Let's get started. Hey everyone, I'm Christian from All Out Brick. Welcome to another Matanui Monday. As always, the best way to tag along with us every week is to subscribe and turn on notifications. This week, we're going to be building set number 8924, Maxilos and Spinax. This set was released as a part of the 2007 line of the Bionicle theme. Maxilos is not a single character, but rather a type of robot that was designated as the Guardians of the Pit. All but one of the Maxilos robots left when the original pit was destroyed. The only one who was left behind took Spinax, the former energy hound of Hydraxon. Spinax was originally very loyal to Hydraxon, but was eventually given away to the Maxilos robot. Taking a look at the packaging, this is clearly our largest box so far of the 2007 line. That gets you hyped up for a set. We've got a pretty basic image here, nothing too fancy on the front of the box, just an image of Maxilos standing behind Spinax. He's got the Cordak blaster firing. We got the name and the Bionicle logo in the top left corner, and then the age range and the set number in the bottom left corner. And on the back of the box, we've got a little bit more going on here. We've got a nice cool image of Maxilos holding Spinax back. We've got some images of the Cordak blaster, as well as Spinax's mouth opening and closing. And of course, we've got the Voyanui and Marinui island depictions. And then at the bottom here, we've got two images of some other sets from the 2007 line. We've got Gadunka and Hydraxon. This is easily the biggest box so far for 2007, so I'm really hyped up to go ahead and build Maxilos and Spinax. I never built the set when I was younger, so this is going to be my first time doing it. Let's go ahead and get this build done. 30 minutes later, we've got our completed Maxilos and Spinax builds. It was a really fun building experience. This 2007 line just continues to impress me with how fun the builds are. Of course, they look great and they have some cool functions, but the fact that the build is also very fun just helps them even more. Now, we're going to start off, we're going to talk about Spinax, and then we'll talk about Maxilos, and then we'll talk about them kind of together. Starting off, we're going to talk about Spinax. This is a really awesome build here. Honestly, I feel like it could be its own set. It's that good. It's got enough pieces. It doesn't feel like this rinky-dink thing that they just threw in because they wanted to throw something in. It feels like a very good developed model. It's got a nice little articulating mouth so that you can open and close his mouth. The head has some awesome articulation at the neck as well. Spinax also achieves this nice fierce look to him. It's nothing crazy. I mean, he's just got this nice little head mold, and then he's got his opening mouth, and just obviously the stance of him. He's got these spine like pieces going along him, and he's got this fierce look to him. I think he pulls that off, and yeah, you don't want to tussle with the Spinax. He might be a little smaller than some of our heroes, but it definitely feels like his claws and the rest of him is going to put out a ton of damage to you. Speaking of those spine pieces, with a name like Spinax, you better have one heck of a spine. This guy does. I love the detail that came out here. These three pieces just work together to form this very unique spine function. I love how he used these spine pieces throughout the Baraki sets, and we've seen it a couple other times so far in 2007. I think Nocturne? Yes, Nocturne had those glow-in-the-dark ones, and then we get them again here with Spinax, and I just love them. They're some of my favorite parts already, and they've only been in 3 sets, but they just add so much detail that you just can't get with regular Bionicle pieces or like Technic pieces, and trying to, finagle all these different spikes. This is how it's achieved, and it looks fantastic. The only downside I experienced with the Spinax model is that the chain is just a little too short, and we'll touch on this more later. I also noticed when I was going through the packaging that the chain on the packaging is a decent amount longer, so I'll touch more about that later, but a little short on the chain here, and it doesn't make any sense. Moving on to Maxilos now, we'll take a look at this big guy, and big guy is not an overreaction. He's very big. I mean, he's not the biggest that we've seen by any margins, but he's a pretty solid build. I mean, especially, we just had Hydraxon, who is definitely a little bit smaller than this, a little less dense. He's got a ton of pieces. I mean, the color scheme, I don't know how I feel about it, to be quite honest with you. Maybe I'm overthinking it. When I was building it, and now looking at the final model, it reminds me so much of the Makuta 2003 set that I'm just having a tough time, not seeing him as something similar to that, and really just fresh as his complete own robot model. I mean, I think he does, but every once in a while it just creeps my mind that, like, oh, this color scheme, I don't know how I feel about it, but that's not the biggest problem. I think that's more of a me thing that I just need to get past that mental block. Color scheme aside, he's got some incredible detail all throughout the model. We use pieces from all the different ages of Bionicle. We've got some 2001 ones sprinkled in there, some 2003 ones. Heck, we even got Vazon's mask in a different color, this pearl dark gray, and that's his shoulder pads. The detail is so great throughout the Maxilos model. I think that's what really impressed me, is we use all of these nice pieces, these awesome molds, and just really comes together to form this amazing looking model. And to the point, the color scheme, I might not be a fan of the color choices, but they work very, very well with each other. I think throughout the model, like, there's not one thing that stands out too much. I think personally, I would have put a little bit more red in there just because I think it would have given it a different look. I mean, it obviously now would look like Iron Man, but this was made before those Iron Man movies, not the comic, completely different subject. The way that the detail is done for this model is just nice in a way where it's kind of feels like a bare bones uncovered robot. You know, we see all of these different piston pieces and like the lats and the legs, and those legs aren't the most covered up we've ever seen, but they've got like a ton of different piece molds throughout them, and they just create a very interesting look. Of course, right above them, we've got some waist articulation. That's been a while since we've seen any of that. I mean, that's pretty cool to include. Unfortunately, it's not like the easiest to use because of all the different connections and these piston parts throughout the model, but it's still pretty cool that they included that in there and just gives you another little extra option for articulation. And when you're posing your model, you can stand it up by changing the waist angle a little bit. The other limbs, those arms, they are very well sized. I know that we sometimes don't get a lot of detail on the arms. This isn't the case here. We've got great detail on the arms. They look nice and thick, just like those legs. Boy, that sounds interesting, but they look really nice, and they include some other things with them. Of course, on the right arm, we're going to have that Kodak blaster on that shoulder mount. It's going to be a pretty cool little mount that we've got there, and it's just a little extra firepower for this Maxilos robot. And then in his left hand, we've got this awesome looking weapon. It includes some trans red pieces, reminds me of the Technic Darth Vader set. If you've built that, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And then we've got this very cool weapon mold on top of it to finish it off. And then at the top of the model, we've got the mask, which is very cool looking. It's definitely got this underwater vibe. It also reminds me of the OG, the 01 Toa Tahu mask. It reminds me a ton of his mask, and it just kind of like just calls out like maybe like a little Easter egg kind of thing, like a little callback to that mask. It also reminds me of, I mean, jumping forward, of course, that's not fair, but the 2015 Tahu mask. I think if you looked at those, you might see that they're actually pretty similar compared to what we got here from Maxilos. But that being said, it stands out enough to really feel like its own thing. It just kind of feels like it's paying a homage to that Tahu mask. We've got these nice little blue details on the side here, and then it connects to this air tank because he's got to breathe underwater and everything like that. It's just a really nice little mask design. It's nothing too special, not the best mask we've ever seen, but it's definitely above average. Besides the color scheme just kind of making me feel a little bit uneasy, the only other downside to these Maxilos model is the feet. And it's really just, I think the footprint needs to be a little bit wider, and that solves the issue completely. He's just a little unstable. I had a tough time posing him, and maybe it's because those rubberized joints are starting to fail out, but I don't really think that's the case. They feel pretty rigid, the ones that I got in this used set, but I think those feet could just be a little bit wider, like we did with some of those older Titan sets, where we just include a few pieces on the side to give us a bigger footprint, and then, you know, just distribute that pressure over a great amount of area. Maybe just could hold up a little bit when you're posing him different ways, but he does tend to topple over, which is unfortunate. Overall, this is a really enjoyable set. The only other thing I want to bring up really quickly is that chain that I discussed a little earlier, well, it's just short in the sense that when you put the chain on Maxilos' hand, and of course it connects to Spinax, they're just a little close together. You can't really separate them, and you really have a tough time moving Spinax around without knocking over Maxilos. And then when you look at that back of the box, why is it so long? I mean, it looks like it's way longer than the 9 chain pieces we included with this set. So I'm just a bit baffled why that's the case. I mean, I'm sure someone out there has, yes, counted the chain pieces, but that's kind of besides the fact. It's easy if you have like the Vazon and, gosh, I'm blanking. If you have the Vazon set and Fenrak, you can add a couple chain pieces from that set, or just some spare pieces that you might have lying around, make it longer, and you'll completely eliminate that problem. Not a big deal at all. Anyways, back to this model, just a quick summary for it. gosh, we get a lot of detail. We basically get two models, a 2-in-1 set, because the Spinax model is not just a throwaway. It's an awesome looking model. I really do like it. And then Maxilos is just going to achieve what he's going to achieve. Really cool looking design, lots of detail pieces. Color scheme's a bit of a questionable choice from my opinion, just my taste, because it just a little too much like that 2003 Makuta set for my liking, but he's got a lot to make up for that. Awesome articulation. Unfortunately, just a little bit unstable, but he makes up for it so much throughout his rest of the model. He's got play function, he's got an awesome weapon, he's got a really cool looking mask, and he's got a nice little story behind him. Fantastic look, great distribution of the different sizes of the limbs. You know, nothing feels too big or too small. The details spread very well throughout the model, and I'm just really, really loving this set. It is awesome, and because it's so awesome, it's pretty expensive too. In used condition, it's currently going for like $100, $110 US, which, I mean, it's kind of in line with what we've been seeing. But when you take a look at it in new condition, my mind was blown, and I'm sure yours will be too. $475 US right now. Explain that. It doesn't make any sense that it's 4.75 times more expensive to buy it in new condition. Needless to say, if you're looking to get this set, do not buy it in new condition. This is a really awesome set. I love it. But there's no reason to spend $475 on it. That I think is a bit absurd. I would just go with the used one, $100. I went used. I don't have any issues or anything. I mean, of course, when you introduce those rubberized Technic joints, you can always run into problems with that. So maybe you're going to have to break link a couple of those extra if, you know, yours come in rough shape. But aside from that, there's no reason to buy this thing in new condition unless you're a collector and you want like a staple set that is going to be like one of the centerpieces of your Bionicle collection. Yeah, that brand new sealed Maxilos and Spinax model will do it for you. In terms of a score, this model, I wanted to give it such a high score, but unfortunately, just that stability issue kept me from putting it into the exclusive 9 club. I'm going to give this set an 8-9. That is an amazing 8-9 right there. Monster score. Unfortunately, there was just, I can't get by the fact that if the model's not stable, I just cannot put it in that exclusive club, that 9 range. You really got to earn that spot in the 9-up range, but 8-9 is still an incredible score, and obviously the price reflects how great this set is. I think as a display, this is top tier, without a doubt. Top tier Bionicle display set. You're getting 2 models, 2 excellent models, and you're gonna have such a great time with the build on top of it too, that now these builds are becoming more and more enjoyable. I'm sorry, I can't really say much more positive things about this Maxilos and Spinax set other than I just wish it was a little more stable, because I would have loved to put this up into the exclusive club of the 9.0 range. Unfortunately, just a touch short, just a touch. But 8-9 is still a great score. That's your review. Thank you guys for watching. If you like this video, be sure to give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel to be the first to see all of our future content. Also be sure to check us out on our website and on our Facebook and Instagram pages. Until next time, stay bricking.